Watch Me Whip and Nene took over 2015, turning Sh0t from being a nobody to an overnight star. Nearly 2 billion views, 6 times platinum off his debut single. All before graduating high school, Sh0t made enough money off that one song, from everything to the streams to the shows he did, to set him up for life. But he ruined everything, all with one mistake. What a lot of people don't know is Sh0t actually had a really rough childhood growing up. From the moment he was born, the doctors found multiple drugs in his system because his mama used substances like weed, coke, and heroin back when she was pregnant with him. According to Sh0t, he grew up watching his family members fighting and trying to kill each other, and he also saw them talking to the wall sometimes. His crazy upbringing played a part in him suffering from depression and anxiety, with these mental issues affecting him his entire life. And when he moved in with his aunt at 14, it made things even worse, eventually leading him to go into juvie. Clearly he needed therapy, because everything I just mentioned here was a warning sign of what he would do years later. Back in the 8th grade was when he started getting into music as a part of a group, but later on he just started rapping by himself by the time he got to high school. And in senior year, he posted Watch Me Whip and Nene on SoundCloud around the time he turned 17, because he wanted to prove his haters wrong at his high school after he lost the talent show. Originally it didn't really get that much traction, but that didn't stop him from performing at birthday parties in his own high school. He was also promoting the song on his Instagram and SoundCloud, but what got the song popular in the first place was when Sh0t got to deal with the music distributor TuneCore, and they worked with Dance On, which is another company that works with dance channels on YouTube. And that company basically paid the channels that work with them to dance to the song, causing it to start getting more popular as a dance trend. From there, it got bigger on YouTube, and it also made its way to Vine, and by the summer of 2015, Sh0t was finally blowing up. Signing to Capitol Records only made him even more famous from there, and they helped him officially put the song out everywhere, and that's when it went crazy. It peaked at number 3 on the Billboard, and a month later they dropped the music video, and he was already performing on Good Morning America. By the end of 2015, the song already went 4 times platinum. Watch Me Whip was only one of the multiple dance songs that got popular back in the mid-2010s. That whole wave of songs, including Juju on That Beat or Hit the Quan, came after Sh0t's song went all over the place. The problem is, whenever you get this big off your first single, it is almost impossible to outdo something like this, but he was cruising through 2015 and 16 off this one song. I cannot tell you how inescapable this shit was back in the day. It was on the radio, it was in commercials, and keep in mind, all this was happening when he was still 17. That amount of fame at such a young age put a lot of pressure on him, but he did manage to get features on songs, but none of them were able to outdo Watch Me Whip. It was just way too big. Whether he liked it or not, he was basically a one-hit wonder, but it wasn't even his fault. All these rappers that blew up with these dance songs back then were kinda destined for this. Either they got too famous too fast and they didn't know what to follow up with, or if they did, it didn't really do as good as their big song. Cause like, for example, can you even recognize Zay Hilfiger or I Love Memphis from their names or their big songs? Exactly, they're more known for that one song than anything else. But being a one-hit wonder was the least of Sh0t's worries, because he was scheduled to do 2 shows in the UAE, but when he didn't show up, he wasn't allowed to leave the country, and they actually took away his passport until he paid back the money the promoter gave him for the shows he never did. And a month later, he was able to come back to the US. Unfortunately, this wasn't the last time he'd get in trouble with the law. He wouldn't get in trouble for a while, but if he didn't know he was a one-hit wonder before, then there was no denying that after his debut album Fresh Outta High School flopped in 2018. On top of the fact he was already a one-hit wonder, his decline in mental health along with his depression and anxiety was starting to get concerning. Cause back in 2019, Sh0t made an appearance on TV, and this was when the world learned about his childhood trauma and mental issues. He was scheduled to show up to therapy sessions and more TV shows, but the fact that he never showed up to none of them and the fact that he tried to take his own life a year later were clear warning signs of how his mental health was getting worse. But since his issues went untreated, it led to him going down a downward spiral, starting out in August 2020 with him getting arrested for domestic violence against his girlfriend, and he somehow got released the same day. But the next day he got arrested again after he ran into a random person's house with a hatchet in the middle of a bipolar episode. He got inside pretty easily because the door was unlocked, and he was in there swinging the hatchet at the two people inside and asking where his girlfriend was. After one of them managed to throw him to the ground and take away the hatchet, Sh0t's friend came to tell him he was at the wrong house. When Sh0t realized this, he and his friend ran out the house, but the LAPD caught them a few blocks away. 2 months later in October, he got arrested again over in Atlanta after he was swerving around cars and driving at 143 miles an hour on I-85. But somehow, that wasn't even enough to actually keep him behind bars, and they let him go 8 hours later. With the amount of time Sh0t was let off the hook, that only made things worse. Clearly, he wasn't mentally stable, and they were just letting him have bail like he wasn't a dangerous person. Nobody was taking this seriously, and they were missing all the warning signs. On January 21st, 2021, Sh0t shot his cousin Frederick 8 times in a neighborhood in Panthersville, Georgia around 3:30 in the morning. And it took the cops around a week and a half to figure out he did it. Only now the legal system was finally taking the situation seriously. Even though his lawyer tried to get him bonded out of jail, the judge declared Sh0t too dangerous to be let out. Judging by his history of mental illness and violence, along with the fact he never took his meds, it took this long for someone to realize Sh0t was a dangerous person. Everybody, including the judge and even Sh0t's own grandparents, didn't want him getting bonded out of jail. Even to this day, he's still sitting in jail with no bond, and he hasn't even been sentenced yet. When the news came out, this was the first time most people had heard about Sh0t in years, ever since Watch Me Whip stopped being popular. Nobody expected the same kid who made that catchy dance song from 2015 to end up doing this. But this was what happened after his mental health went untreated for so long, and since he never got help before it was too late, it ended in the worst way possible.